Yeah, we're going to zip through this. We're so deep in the middle of everything that to pause and explain it is hard. I didn't know if we were going to even have time because I thought our child care discussion might last longer than it did. But we did report out favorably a good bill on child care, which will create a new policy officer position in the Department of Health and Human Services and call for a strategic plan on child care so that we can have an inventory of supply and demand. I really, really sincerely want to thank both Council members Navarro and Reamer. They have placed this issue squarely on our agenda. I think our response is an appropriate first step. Both Council members have tried very hard to make sure that in Councilmember Navarro's case, there is access to services and assistance available to immigrant child care providers and especially to children from immigrant families who face significant language disadvantages, and of course the families face enormous cost disadvantages. And in Councilmember Reamer's case, he's done a tremendous job of advocating for additional county-provided space in public facilities so that child care can be available. And so both of them deserve a lot of credit, and I think this, the bill that we agreed to this morning is a good bill. And we're working our way through the budget. We're deep in the middle of it. We're still at the stage where we imagine the things we would like to fund. We haven't yet gotten to the stage where we realize how little we can actually afford to fund. And that's going to be a cold, hard reality that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So when you see the large dollar amounts being put on the reconciliation list, that's an expression of hope. Not everything that we hope to fund will we be able to find the resources to fund. So let's get to it. If you all have any questions, I don't want to hold you here too long. It is a very busy time.
The governor has marked his first 100 days. Are you still waiting to see what he'll do on GCEI?
We don't know what he's going to do on GCEI.
Has he been has there been?
I hope he'll release the money. I don't see any advantage in just sitting on it. I mean, the state has an ample reserve. I don't think just keeping money unspent, for a relatively small amount of money, which is very important to our school system, is particularly important to the fiscal management of the state. And I think he would be well advised to release the money that the legislature appropriated. And I hope he will.
What about the money that it looks like is coming through to build or renovate this building? Those two
Yes.
options passed out at, well, one option.
That's correct.
Passed out at committee?
Yes.
It's coming to the council tomorrow?
Yes, it will.
What's your thoughts on this?
I believe we will renovate this building. It's critically in need. It's an aging building. It serves a lot of people. The Department of Housing is housed here. The public uses this facility all the time. The public needs to have access to handicapped accessible restrooms. And, Councilmember Katz's office was flooded for a few days. It was unusable. It's inoperable, when the weather is a little hot or a little cold. And this is our obligation. This is our infrastructure, and we need to invest in it and to keep it current.
Is the money a factor?
Well, we can afford the recommendation of the Government Operations Committee as part of our capital program. We have to maintain our facilities. I mean, we're the owner of this infrastructure, and we have an obligation to maintain it. We can't just let it fall apart.
And what was the dollar figure that they passed out to you?
Mr. Farber, help me out on that. 31 million over the whole 5 years. It's a multi-year construction project. Any other questions?
Speaking of added money, there was about 11 million put on that reconciliation list for Montgomery College. What's your thoughts on fully funding that appropriation? Should this be a key priority?
That's a lot of money. I think it's going to be very difficult to meet that full amount. We all support Montgomery College, and the executive also supports Montgomery College, and we can only spend resources that we have. So I think again that was an expression of hope. I don't think all of that money is going to survive in the final budget.
Also, there's a completely unrelated. There's a case that was just decided by the Court of Special Appeals that said Montgomery County's MS4 permit is totally inadequate, and they sent it back to the state to redraw it. The state, of course, could appeal it because they appealed, the lower court decision, which also said the same thing. What's your thought? Do we have inadequate stormwater management?
I'm going to have to get up to speed on that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You caught me unprepared on that question.
County executive said he wants to privatize the Office of Economic Development.
Right.
Your thoughts on that?
I think we need to move rapidly. I think that we are at a disadvantage with the uncertainty. The professional staff don't know what they'll be doing a year from now. We also have the Montgomery Business Development Corporation, whose staff don't know what they're going to be doing a year from now. So I've been briefed on the county executive's proposal. My sense is that the council will move forward with the creation of a new entity, but I have not yet had the chance to touch base with all of my colleagues. We don't yet have the proposal before us, but we cannot let this decision linger. One way or another, it needs to be resolved rapidly. I'd like to see us turn to it right after the budget so that we can move forward with our economic development efforts without a lot of uncertainty on the part of the staff who need to be carrying those efforts out. So I do support the concept, and I don't know if a majority of the council does. I'm going to be working to ascertain that and reach a conclusion rapidly before we go on summer recess.
And why do you support it?
I think that there is a sense that Montgomery County is not maximizing its strategic position and the opportunities that present themselves. I certainly have the sense that our marketing of our county's strengths is not as strong as it should be, and I think that the proposal is made over and over and over from interested parties, and I think we should try it. I think there's not enough of a reason not to try it. We see that Fairfax County and Howard County, to cite two obvious examples nearby, have a model like this where the economic development efforts are led by the private sector. And so I think we should go ahead and do that and emphasize marketing the many strengths and advantages that we do have to offer, which I think we've been negligent in doing. I think our economic development efforts have been insufficient.
Would this in any way compete with, I believe it was the Business Development Corporation that Nancy Florine set up?
I think it will become that.
Okay.
I think that the private sector entity, MBDC, and the public sector entity, the Department of Economic Development, at the end of the day will become one entity.
Okay. And you got some answers back on your free range memo?
We did.
Can you talk about that?
I don't think we learned a great deal new, and the specific matter of the family is under investigation by the State Department of Human Resources. I think that both the police department and the Child Protective Services were seeking to interpret the law as they understood it. It certainly appears that the police have a fair amount of discretion. It doesn't appear to me that Child Protective Services has very much discretion. If there were changes to the discretion that CPS has, they would have to be made at the state level. I've spoken to a couple of members of the General Assembly who want to approach this with all of the subtlety and caution that's appropriate in this case. No one wants to do anything that literally endangers children. At the same time, I don't think there's any reason why families should feel that they can't send their children to play in the park. I really want to emphasize, never before this case have I ever heard any complaint about Child Protective Services overreaching or interpreting the law overly aggressively. So we have this one case. It's received an enormous amount of attention. To the extent that it calls for changes in child protection policy, those changes would have to occur at the state level. Thanks. All right. Appreciate your coming. Thank you very much.